Oh, bullshit, he can. We've all heard stories about adrenaline-fueled mothers lifting their sports utility vehicles off of their toddlers. Have we? Have we, Dave? I always thought this was kind of just like something you saw in movies. And it's like, yeah, I mean, people could be stronger, sure. If you're like really like me in the gym, this is how much I can bench. And if it was like, bench this much or I'll shoot you in the head, sure, I could probably bench like a good 20 to 30% more than I'm capable of, like normally. But to be able to lift a car, different thing. Not going to happen. Oh, by the way, if you're new here, Dave writes me a script. I read it. That's the format of the show. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Make sure you subscribe. Whilst this is without a doubt an impressive feat, the science behind it is fairly mundane. Parents, especially mothers, have a protective instinct towards their children that runs so deep that should their child be in mortal peril, the brain floods their body with so much adrenaline that they are, for a short while at least, capable of accessing animalistic levels of strength that are not available on a day-to-day basis. Which is fine, and yes, but it's like maybe 20 to 30%. I don't know what the stats are, but it's not going to be, oh yeah, no, like my wife, who weighs about, 50-something kilos soaking wet, she's not going to suddenly be able to lift up our Volvo if my son gets trapped under there. She's going to be like, oh no, Volvo's still really heavy. Like, what the fuck? Although I'm not so sure about that last part. For quite a while when I was a child, my mum raised me and all of my brothers single-handedly, or at least single-handedly during the week. On top of... Dave, is that your way of saying that your dad worked? Yeah, my wife raises our children single-handedly, other than evenings and weekends, when I'm home. On top of all of this, she did not have a car and therefore had to carry the weekly big shop home on the bus. Seriously, I'm sure mums were stronger back then. Anyway, the point that I'm trying to make is that though such feats as possible, it's only for a short time and in very specific situations. Unless you're Dave's mum, in which case you're a beast. Sorry, Dave. I didn't mean that. I mean, you made it. You implied it. I'm just imagining your mom's being like, she's got like 17 shopping bags and like some coats. Like, hello, everybody. Have you ever found yourself in the age-old dilemma? Boxers too loose, briefs too tight? Well, worry no more, because today's sponsor, Sheath, have got your back. Or should I say not your back, but your nether regions. I'm currently wearing Sheath right now. I've also got a nice clean pair of Sheath right here, and it's incredible. No more discomfort, no more awkward adjustments, just pure comfort. Whether it's hot outside, cold outside, whether you're in the gym, whether you're just sitting at a desk. No one likes the underwear that's like moving around and getting all uncomfortable, like riding up, or, it's not right. None of that with Sheath, which keeps everything exactly where it's supposed to be. They have this dual pouch system, so your different man bits can go in different sections, which keeps everything, like, especially in the summer, this is really good. Way less sweaty. Very nice. But I was skeptical at first. Who wouldn't be? Why? You put your different pieces in different places? Bit weird. Try Sheath, get one bare, you'll see what it's about, and then your entire underwear drawer will now be filled with Sheath, like in no time at all. It's just how it works. That's mine. It's just only Sheath now. If you don't feel like using the dual pouch system that day, no problem. You don't have to. They're still extremely comfortable. Plus, they have base layers for the winter. They've even got a brand new women's line, which is cool, made out of bamboo. Plus, Sheath are now the official underwear sponsors of the UFC. Head over to sheathunderwear.com and treat yourself. Use the promo code BLAZE for an exclusive 20% off. That's sheathunderwear.com. Promo code BLAZE. Your nether regions will thank you. And now back to today's video. Daniel Kish. I briefly considered not including this guy on the list, partly because he gets more than enough recognition already, and partly because I kind of felt like everybody who saw the title of this video and that I had written the script would immediately know that it would be on it. Dude, I have no idea. Like, I feel like if anyone's going to be prepped and briefed for this situation, it's me, and I have no idea. Who the f*** is Daniel Kish?
I don't know.
Nevertheless, it is a cool story and it's an interesting ability, so here it goes. Daniel Kish has been completely blind since he was 13 months old. When I say completely blind, I really mean it. What many people don't understand is that, at least when it comes to classification, blindness is a scale. Somebody who is registered as legally blind in the United States may still have some useful vision. The same is true in the United Kingdom. In fact, in order to prevent the upsetting of snowflakes everywhere, UK classifications don't actually say blind at all. And like Dave saying, you're upsetting all the snowflakes, just as so people aren't like, Dave, well, that's insensitive. I'm blind, and Dave is blind. So if someone can say this, it's Dave. No, if you're blind in the United Kingdom, that means you have to make do with the classification of severely sight impaired.
Are you kidding me? I'm blind.
What if you are blind, though? Severely sight impaired. If someone says I'm severely sight impaired, it means like, I don't know what, you just need really thick glasses. That's different. Anyway, I digress. Kish, having had both of his eyes completely removed, is about as blind as it gets. Now, what I'm going to say next is fairly controversial, but to the best of my knowledge and experience, it is absolutely true. I've met lots of people who lost their sight at an early age, and they tend to fall into two categories. Firstly, and depressingly, you have the woe is me pity party group, and then you have the others who just get on with it. The deciding factor as to exactly which group you fall into is your parents. Kish, like me, had absolutely awesome parents who, rather than wrapping him in cotton wool and protecting him from the big bad world outside, made him get up, get out there, and kick that world up the arse. Yeah, Dave, I know Dave a little bit. Like we've become, a bit friendly.
Say what?
And Dave, he's an enormously positive person. Like always, like he doesn't like. He's come on the live streams a couple of times. It's like he doesn't give a shit. Like I sometimes make a comment. And I'm like, "Oh, Dave, is that okay?" And he's like, "Dude, fine, bro." It's like, okay. As a direct result of this get out there and do it attitude, Kish developed his own slightly unorthodox way of perceiving his environment. Much like bats and dolphins, he has developed his own variation on echolocation. As he moves around, he can make a weird clicking noise with his mouth. And after years of self-training, he is able to build up a fairly accurate image of his surroundings. He's very good at it too. A quick search online will find videos of him riding a bike. Bruh. Navigating obstacle courses, and bizarrely providing a physical description of a tree. Holy shit. Bro's like Daredevil. Now, to answer the question that I know you're all secretly asking, can I do this? Well, sort of, but so can anybody. That is, anybody who's not deaf. I invite you to all give it a try next time you're at home, or at least in some environment where you can be reasonably sure you're not being mowed down by an electric car. Just close your eyes and walk around a bit. Gradually, you'll notice that the sound of your footsteps changes the closer you get to, say, a wall. If you were to spend hours and hours practicing this, then you would realize that smaller objects can also be detected in the way in which they alter the sound of your steps. That's some Daredevil, Dave. That's some Daredevil shit. I used to be quite good at this, and providing I knew the area fairly well, I too used to be able to ride a bike mostly by listening. Dude, is the reason that you can't do this anymore is because like electric cars came along? You'd be like, do, and you're, oh no. However, after spending many years as part of a heavy metal band who were too cool to use ear defenders, my hearing is what could best be described as subpar. As for Kish, his finely honed talent has made him somewhat of a celebrity in the blind community, and if it were not for the fact that the incessant clicking noise he makes fills me with an all-consuming desire to beat him to death with a chair. It'd be really annoying. What was his name? Paul? Shut the f*** up, Paul! He's just like, shut the f*** up! I'm trying to sleep! You dick! Just use your fingers like a normal blind person! Isao Machii. Before I had a wife or a child, I was quite the collector of various types of weaponry. At one point, the walls of my room were decked out with a collection of stabby things, slashy things, and replica shooty things that, had I ever experienced a visit from the police, I probably would have been arrested purely on the grounds that I was probably up to something. Sadly, as the UK government became more and more hysterical about such matters, my collection slowly disappeared. First the replica handguns, then the blowpipes, then the battle axe, and so on and so forth, until the last things in my collection were two beautifully made and exceptionally expensive samurai swords. Have you guys heard of something called a zombie knife? I'd never heard of a zombie knife until a few years ago. I'm like flying back to the UK, probably visited my parents or some shit. And there's a big sign at the airport saying like it's illegal to import zombie knives. And this isn't something where it's like, there's like a wall of text about drugs and everything and there's the zombie knives just there written there at the bottom. It's like there's a picture of like a zombie knife, which seems to be some sort of like gruesome looking knife that you'd assume kills zombies, sort of like a machete but more hardcore. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on? And why do we need to tell people not to bring specifically zombie knives into the country? Had the UK not banned owning anything sharper than a spoon, then it's just possible I may have held on to these to this very day. I had, after all, always wanted to find somebody who could teach me how to use them properly. Dave, don't do that, mate. Don't do that. You're just going to hurt yourself. Anyone who's like got samurai swords, and I'm not just picking on Dave because he's blind and I don't know, Dave, but I imagine you're more likely to get hurt by a samurai sword if you're like waving it around. Or like someone's waving it around at you. I don't know like about the footsteps in that samurai sword situation, but I don't know. But look, anyone who's got samurai swords, leave them on the wall where they belong. Don't sharpen those up and pretend you're a samurai. Don't do it. It's not worth it. Had I known about this guy back then I almost certainly would have at least contacted him and begged for instructions. Because you see, Isao Machii is the closest thing to a Jedi that the human race has to offer. I hope Dave's going to explain what a Jedi is, because I don't really... whenever Jedi comes to mind, I always imagine the dudes in the white costumes, but those are stormtroopers if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah, I think you're looking for these nuts.
To clarify, I'm not talking about cheap parlor tricks of the mind. He cannot convince you don't want to sell him death sticks or that these are not the droids you're looking for. No, what he can do is far cooler than that. According to many articles online, this guy has reflexes so fast that he can slice a bullet out of the air. Oh, bullshit, he can.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
I don't believe that. Like, no matter how good your reflexes are, like my wife is not lifting up a Volvo, this guy is not faster than a bullet. That's fiction. Obviously, if this is true, he's awesome, and he has certainly earned his spot on the list. However, something about this rings a tiny alarm in my head. So, like the consummate professional that I am, I decided that we should dig a little deeper. To be clear, as I write this, I've not yet investigated, and should the claims prove to be entirely accurate, I am more than happy to apologize for my skepticism, especially as I have no wish to be hunted down by somebody who actually knows how to use a samurai sword. Yeah, okay, so Dave and I are pretty much in the same boat. Enormously skeptical of this dude being able to slice a bullet from a gun. I mean, come on. Guns are bullet leaves gun, bullet is inside you. That's how guns work. Like, you don't see the path of the bullet. This isn't some, like, wanted sh**. This is life, reality. Upon first Googling his name, the results look promising. His Wikipedia page claims that he holds a number of Guinness World Records. However, in my small time writing for Simon, I've never knowingly included anything from Wikipedia as a legitimate source, and I have no intentions of doing so now. Well, Wikipedia is fine, as long as you check the referencing and it's referencing a legitimate source. It did give me a place to start, though, and after a quick search on the official Guinness World Record website, I discovered that my skepticism was at least partially warranted. Although people have claimed that it was a bullet he stopped with his sword, it was in fact a 6mm plastic ball bearing. Okay, so he stopped a BB gun. Big difference from a BB gun to like a Glock, right? Nevertheless, I'm more than happy to include him on this list, and after you hear the following extract from the Guinness World Record website, I hope that you'll agree. The fastest BB pellet cut by a sword is 158.29 kilometers an hour, or 98 miles per hour, achieved by Isao Machii in Chiyoda, Tokyo, Japan, on the 4th of June 2013. The BB pellet was manually shot from an airgun. Isao Machii started the attempt by having the blade of his sword in the sheath and drawing the sword right before the BB pellet reached him. Wait, so you're telling me how far, like, BB guns, they're not exactly quick, but they're not f***ing slow. Like, how far is this BB gun person gonna have to be away for him to draw the sword and stop the bullet? Stop the pellet? Like, whoosh, even that, it's like, come on. And how many chances does he get? Because eventually it's just gonna be stats. That is good enough for me. What do you think, Simon? Can he stay on the list? Yes, but I'm not that impressed, Isao. Just not that impressed, to be honest, mate. Give me a BB gun and a sword. I'll do that.
Maybe you want to come up here and show us some of your technique.
Joe Cameron. Anaphia, having no sense of touch, is not uncommon. Sadly, especially in babies and small children, this condition can have horrific consequences. Not knowing that they were injuring themselves, children have chewed their fingers so badly that they've had to be removed, stood and watched as their skin blackened and burned in open flames, and in at least one case, repeatedly jumped from a high ledge because they were amused by the cracking sounds that was made by the breaking bones in the ankle. Me, bro. That is something I didn't need to know. But what if you still had a sense of touch, but your brain just didn't for whatever reason register pain? What would that be like? Wasn't there an episode of House about this?
Yes.
Well, according to Jo Cameron, a 72-year-old lady from Scotland, or at least she was 72 years old when she gave this interview to The Guardian, it is actually pretty cool. Apparently, she reached the ripe old age of 65 before it was medically proven that she was different to anybody else. Wait, so she just can't feel pain? So, like, she can touch things, but if something hurts, she's like, oh, that doesn't hurt. This sounds horrible. You're just going to get injured. Up until that point, she just assumed that she was both incredibly tough and incredibly clumsy. This explained why I often get undressed and see bruises that I've no recollection of acquiring, why during childbirth, after some serious pushing, I felt nothing more than a considerable stretch. It's why the only way I know I've burned myself while cooking is when the aroma of meat reaches my nostrils. Bruh. I'm a vegan, so what I'm smelling is actually my own scorched flesh. What the fuck? Why is this so unique? It's just like someone who's got leprosy. She told The Guardian that after undergoing hand surgery at the age of 65, her consultant told her that the recovery would be much more painful than her previous hip replacement and that she would need much stronger painkillers. Now, about a year ago, I underwent a fairly extensive hand surgery to have various nerve endings rejoined, and I can tell you that the recovery was brutal. Yeah, Dave, how I was warning Dave about samurai swords, Dave was using a band saw.
What the hell?
And, chopped his fingers. Bruh. In fact, even now, if my hand gets even slightly cold, it feels like it's on fire. When Cameron started wiggling the fingers of her newly repaired hand in the face of her consultant about an hour after surgery, he decided that it might be interesting to find out what was going on. Cameron said, "Down in London, I went for tests at the University College Hospital. In the experiments, my husband was used as the standard. They even took a biopsy from his leg." What the fuck's going on? Why can this woman not feel her hands and they're taking a bit of flesh from her husband's leg? What is going on, hospital? What the fuck is going on?
I don't understand. I don't understand, Kish. I don't understand.
The researchers found an abundance of a substance called anandamide in my body, so much that I never experience anxiety, fear, or pain. Wait, are you sure you're just not a psycho? Instead, my genes make me happy and forgetful. Finally, an explanation for why it feels like every other week I lose the keys to my car. Apparently, the discovery of her condition could have wide-reaching positive ramifications for the future of pain relief. Anandamide works in a similar way to THC, the active ingredient in cannabis.
That sounds awesome!
This lady's rolling around high all the time. Yes! And everybody has some in their body. If scientists can figure out a way of artificially creating Cameron's condition on a short-term basis, we may well eradicate the need for highly addictive opioid painkillers entirely. You know what we could also use that is around? THC, which America, of all countries, is finally getting on board with. It's like, oh yeah, opiates. Horrible for you, cause loads of deaths and addiction and just joke horrible situation. Cannabis, oh, that was illegal, and non-addictive, pretty good at pain killing, like, what the f***? Pajkic. While the other people on this list can have their talents explained, either through the fact that they have spent years and years developing their skills, or simply they had a rare genetic condition, what this next guy can do is truly bizarre. I've suffered a serious electric shock once. After removing the power cable from a desktop computer on which I was working, I traced it back to the socket in order to unplug that as well. Annoyingly, the cable had been crushed by the nearly 50-kilogram laboratory power supply that I'd accidentally placed on top of it, and this resulted in me touching the bare wires. Yeah, I touched I can't remember exactly how it happened, but I was taking a plug out of a wall and I somehow must have touched something because I got a shock from the mains and it was extremely painful and unpleasant. I had to have a little lie down. After the experience, which for a brief period convinced me I was going to die, I was always a lot more careful. However, this guy treats electricity with a contemptuous attitude, which is, quite frankly, shocking. I see what you did there, Dave. Pajkic, depending on which source you believe, discovered his incredible talent at the age of 17 after accidentally touching a live power cable that had been pulled from under the ground. Whilst this experience would have very probably killed a normal person, Pajkic suffered no effect whatsoever. It did, however, spark his interest in finding out just exactly what else he might be able to do, and the answer to that question was very interesting indeed. In 1983, he set his first Guinness World Record by being the first human to withstand 20,000 volts. And 30 years later, he set another by conducting enough electricity to heat a cup of water to 90 degrees Celsius or 206 Fahrenheit in just 1 minute and 37 seconds. How is this possible? Does he just have loads of metal in his blood or something? Believe it or not, this isn't even the coolest thing he can do. Pajkic can actually charge himself up like a battery and then release the energy at will. He's actually a superhero. What the fuck's going on? During his live stage shows, which he does when taking time away from giving people electric shock therapy to help with chronic pain, migraines, etc., he demonstrates this remarkable talent by placing a light bulb in his mouth and then powering it on.
See, the key to this trick is that Bebop first connects the contacts together, then puts it in his mouth, which means that both contacts and his body are at the same voltage, so no current runs through his body at all.
As I said earlier, nobody seems to be entirely sure how he's capable of doing this.
I feel nothing because I'm powering it from my batteries. Maybe that's what he does too.
The only suggestion I found, which appears to make any sense at all, is that because he possesses neither sweat nor salivary glands, electricity does not interact with him in the same way that it would anybody else. However he does it, he doesn't plan on stopping anytime soon. The last article I read on the subject seems to indicate that he plans to become the first person to withstand 1,000,000 volts.
Pure electricity. In my pants.
Oh my.
So good luck with that. While you probably shouldn't try any of these at home, apart from perhaps the little bit of supervised echolocation, messing around with electricity is exceptionally dangerous and often fatal. This sounds like, it sounds more like a magician with the light bulb in the mouth. I'm pretty skeptical of that. This is a little bit personal, but I feel like we're friends here, so I shall tell you. My granny was unfortunate enough to suffer death by electrocution at the bakery where she worked. F***ing hell. You know someone who got electrocuted to death, Dave? Jesus. While she was removing some cakes from the oven, she accidentally stepped on a bun and the current went right up her leg. It was just a joke. Dave, I felt sorry for your gran. And that's the end of the episode. Thanks for being here. Give me a BB gun and a sword. I'll do that.